Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. Ethan stepped out of the taxi in front of the elegant French chateau. The building's majestic facade, bathed in the soft evening light, seemed to glow with an ethereal hue. He ran his hand through his hair, a nervous habit as he took in the intricate iron gates and the lush, manicured gardens that surrounded the estate. This was certainly not your average business trip. Wow, he muttered under his breath. This is something else. The taxi driver, an elderly gentleman with a weathered face, smiled at him as he unloaded Ethan's luggage. Quite a place, no? Many parties they happen here, always a good time. Ethan nodded, feeling a mix of excitement and apprehension. Yeah, looks like it. He cleared his throat, suddenly aware of the sophisticated setting and his own casual attire, a simple dress shirt and slacks. I'm just here for a colleague's party. Didn't realize it'd be so grand. Ah, you Americans, the driver chuckled. Always underdressed. But do not worry, young man. It is what's inside that counts, yes? With a wink, the driver handed him his bag and wished him a good evening. Ethan watched the taxi pull away, feeling a twinge of isolation in this foreign land. He took a deep breath, inhaling the fragrant evening air, and reminded himself that he was here for a reason. It was a rare opportunity to not only further his career, but also immerse himself in a new culture. Shaking off his nerves, he straightened his shoulders and made his way through the elaborate gates. As he walked up the cobblestone path, he noticed the intricate details of the chateau's architecture. The elaborate moldings, the arched windows, and the delicate iron balconies. The place seemed plucked straight out of a fairy tale. His heart raced with anticipation as he imagined the evening ahead. Perhaps this would be an adventure unlike any other. The warm glow of candlelit chandeliers greeted him as he entered the grand foyer. The space was alive with elegant furnishings and lavish decor. His eyes widened at the sight of a sweeping marble staircase, beneath which stood a baby grand piano being played masterfully by a man in a sleek tuxedo. Ethan! A cheerful voice snapped him out of his awestruck reverie. He turned to see Isabelle, his French colleague, approaching him with arms wide open. Her dark hair fell in sleek waves around her face, and her eyes sparkled with delight. I'm so glad you came. Wow, Isabelle, Ethan said, returning her enthusiastic embrace. This place is incredible. I feel like I've stepped into a movie set. Isabelle laughed, her eyes dancing with mischief. Just wait until you see the rest. I think you will enjoy it. She took his hand, leading him further into the chateau. I'm so happy you could make it. I wanted to show you a little bit of the French art de vivre. Art de vivre? Ethan asked, curious. Oh, you know. Isabelle waved her hand casually. The art of living, the French, we know how to party. Ethan couldn't help but smile at her enthusiasm. Isabelle was a force of nature, passionate, lively, and always full of surprises. He had worked with her on a few projects, and she had quickly become a close friend during his time in Paris. She was a true Parisian, always in the know about the city's best-kept secrets and exclusive events. As they made their way through the lavish rooms, Ethan noticed the other guests. The men were dressed to the nines in sophisticated tuxedos, while the women wore elegant gowns that graced the floor. Waiters circulated with silver trays, offering champagne and delectable canapés. Soft jazz music filled the air, creating an ambiance that was both refined and festive. Everyone sure knows how to dress, Ethan commented, feeling suddenly very underdressed. Isabelle squeezed his hand reassuringly. Don't worry, I have something special planned for you. Before Ethan could inquire further, a butler approached them, carrying a tray of exotic-looking cocktails. Isabelle, he said with a subtle French accent, may I present you with one of our signature drinks? We call it the kiss. Isabelle's eyes lit up at the mention of the drink. Oui, certainly. And for my friend as well. Ethan took the proffered cocktail, admiring the intricate sugarwork that graced the rim of the glass. This looks amazing. What's in it? A little bit of this, a little bit of that," the butler replied mysteriously. "It's a secret recipe, I'm afraid, but I assure you, it's quite delicious." Ethan brought the glass to his lips, savoring the complex flavors. The drink was a perfect balance of sweet and tangy, with a subtle hint of spice. "Wow, that's good," he said, earning a satisfied smile from the butler. Isabelle raised her glass. "To a wonderful evening." "To new experiences," Ethan added, clinking his glass against hers. The ice broken, the two settled into comfortable conversation, discussing their work and the unique opportunity that had brought Ethan to Paris. As they spoke, Ethan noticed Isabelle's eyes flitting towards a doorway every now and then, as if expecting something or someone. "So," Ethan said, taking a sip of his drink. "You mentioned you had something special planned for me?" Isabelle bit her lip, a playful smile spreading across her face. "Oui, but first I must ask, how adventurous are you feeling tonight?" Ethan raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "I think I can speak for most Americans when I say we're always up for a challenge." Isabelle's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Wonderful! Follow me." With that, she led him through the indicated doorway and into a grand hallway. The space was lined with elaborate, full-length mirrors, each reflecting the opulent surroundings and enhancing the sense of grandeur. At the far end stood a set of double doors, partially hidden by lush velvet curtains. As they approached the doors, Ethan noticed a man standing sentinel, his expression both stoic and welcoming. He wore a crisp suit and exuded an air of quiet sophistication. "Isabelle," he nodded, stepping aside to allow them entry. Isabelle gave the man a small smile, then turned to Ethan, her eyes alight with anticipation. "Are you ready?" Ethan's heart raced with curiosity and a hint of nervousness. "As I'll ever be." With a flourish, Isabelle swept back the curtains, revealing a spectacular scene. The room beyond was adorned with opulent furnishings and lavish decor. Ethan's eyes widened as he took in the sight before him. Men, dressed impeccably as women, danced, laughed, and mingled. The air was electric with an atmosphere that was both playful and sophisticated. "Welcome," Isabelle said, her voice warm and inviting, "to our little party within a party." Ethan's initial reaction was one of surprise, followed quickly by fascination. He had never witnessed anything like this. It was a true celebration of androgyny and individuality. The men, or rather the femmes fatales of the evening, moved with fluid grace, their gowns and wigs creating a kaleidoscope of color and texture. "It's incredible," Ethan breathed, taking a step forward to get a better view. "I've never seen anything like this." Isabelle's eyes sparkled with delight. "I knew you'd enjoy it. This is a regular event among certain social circles in Paris. A little risque, a little daring, but always so much fun." Ethan turned to her, a grin spreading across his face. "You certainly know how to show a guy a good time." "But of course," Isabelle said, her voice laced with mock arrogance as she performed a small bow. "It is my pleasure to introduce you to the delights of Parisian nightlife." Ethan's eyes scanned the room, taking in the details. The men's makeup was flawless, their eyes accentuated with dramatic shadows and their lips painted in bold colors. Their dresses were works of art, some form-fitting and body-hugging, others flowing and ethereal, each one more exquisite than the last. The scene was a beautiful mosaic of fashion, femininity, and freedom. "So, what do you say?" Isabelle's voice broke through his thoughts. "Shall we join the fun?" Ethan hesitated, his mind racing with questions. Could he truly join in this unique celebration? I don't know," he stammered, feeling suddenly self-conscious. "I mean, I don't have anything to wear." Isabelle waved away his concern with a dismissive hand. "But of course you do. I've taken the liberty of arranging something for you." Before Ethan could protest further, Isabelle turned to the stoic man who had greeted them earlier. With a subtle nod, the man disappeared through a side door, returning moments later with a garment bag slung over his arm. Isabelle's eyes sparkled with excitement as she took the bag from the man. I had a feeling you might need a little extra encouragement, so I took the liberty of borrowing something for you." Ethan's curiosity got the better of him as he reached for the bag. Isabelle playfully slapped his hand away, a mischievous glint in her eye. "Allow me," she said, a devious smile playing at her lips. With deliberate slowness, she unzipped the bag, revealing a vision of satin and lace. Ethan's breath caught in his throat as he beheld a stunning emerald green gown, its fabric rich and luxurious, the bodice delicately embroidered with silver thread. "It's beautiful," he whispered, running his fingers gently over the intricate design. "And it will look stunning on you," Isabelle assured him, her eyes shining with an encouraging light. "It's time to let your alter ego shine, mon ami." Ethan hesitated, his mind swimming with a mix of emotions: excitement, nervousness, and a touch of apprehension. "Are you sure about this?" he asked, his voice laced with uncertainty. "I mean, won't people think it's strange?" Isabelle placed her hands on her hips, her expression one of mock exasperation. "Ethan, my dear friend, everyone here is strange and wonderful in their own unique way. That is precisely what makes this party so extraordinary." Ethan couldn't help but smile at her enthusiasm. "All right," he said, taking a deep breath. "Let's do this." Isabelle clapped her hands together, her eyes sparkling with delight. "Wonderful! Now follow me. We have a big transformation ahead of us." She led him back through the grand hallway, past the elegant mirrors that seemed to dance with the reflections of their movements. At the end of the hallway, they entered a luxurious dressing room. The space was filled with soft, warm light that flattered all complexions, and the walls were adorned with an elaborate array of wigs in every color and style imaginable. Makeup stations lined the room, each one equipped with an extensive array of cosmetics and tools. Ethan's eyes widened at the sight. "Wow, this is like a professional salon." Isabelle laughed, a joyful sound that filled the room. "But of course, we can't have our guests looking anything less than fabulous, can we?" A team of expert stylists approached them, their faces alight with excitement at the prospect of a new canvas to work upon. Isabelle introduced Ethan to them, explaining her vision for his transformation. The stylists immediately set to work, their skilled hands moving efficiently as they prepared the various stations. Ethan watched in fascination as one stylist laid out an array of cosmetics, eyeshadows in vibrant shades, liners, and mascaras, while another prepared a selection of wigs, each one a different hue and style. The dress he would wear was carefully hung, awaiting its moment in the spotlight. "Now," Isabelle said, turning to Ethan with a conspiratorial gleam in her eye, "let the fun begin." Ethan took a seat at one of the stations, his heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. He had never worn makeup before, let alone a dress, and the prospect of such a dramatic transformation was both thrilling and unnerving. Isabelle sat beside him, her eyes shining with anticipation. "Are you ready for your makeover?" "As ready as I'll ever be," Ethan replied, forcing a smile to mask his nerves. The stylists sprang into action, their movements precise and graceful. They began by cleansing his skin, then applied a light layer of foundation, skillfully blending it to match his natural complexion. Ethan watched in the mirror as his face transformed. Dark circles disappeared and imperfections faded, leaving behind a smooth, flawless canvas. Next, they focused on his eyes, accentuating their natural shape with subtle shades of eyeshadow and adding definition with a precise line of eyeliner. Mascara lengthened and curled his lashes, opening up his eyes and giving them a dramatic flair. Ethan watched, transfixed, as his reflection slowly morphed into someone else, someone confident, sensual, and oh so slightly mysterious. The stylists worked with a quiet efficiency, their concentration evident in their steady hands and intense gazes. "What do you think so far?" Isabelle asked, leaning in close to inspect the handiwork. Ethan studied his reflection, hardly recognizing himself. "It's incredible," he whispered, reaching up to touch his face gently, as if afraid the illusion might shatter at his touch. Isabelle smiled, her eyes crinkling at the corners. "And we're not even done yet. The best is yet to come." The stylists resumed their work, this time turning their attention to Ethan's lips. They carefully lined and colored them, using a deep burgundy shade that complemented the hues of the dress. As they worked, Ethan noticed the care and attention to detail they bestowed on each stroke of the brush, each application of color. It was as if they were painting a masterpiece. "Now," one of the stylists said, stepping back to admire their handiwork, "it is time for the final touch." Ethan's heart raced as the stylist reached for a long, glossy wig, a deep auburn shade that fell in loose waves to mid-back. With careful precision, they positioned the wig, securing it in place. Ethan's breath caught in his throat as he beheld his transformation in the mirror. The wig framed his face beautifully, the deep red locks contrasting exquisitely with his emerald gown. He looked extraordinary. "Oh my," he whispered, his voice filled with wonder. Isabelle clapped her hands together, a delighted smile on her face. "You look absolutely stunning. I knew this color would suit you." Ethan turned to her, his eyes sparkling with gratitude. "Thank you for convincing me to do this. I feel liberated." Isabelle's eyes shone with pride and joy. "I am so glad you feel that way. This is what it's all about: freedom, self-expression, and pure, unadulterated fun." Ethan couldn't help but smile, feeling a sense of joy bubble up within him. This was an experience he would never forget, a night where he had stepped out of his comfort zone and into a world of fantasy and glamour. "Shall we join the party?" Isabelle asked, her eyes bright with anticipation. Ethan stood, the gown flowing gracefully around him. Absolutely. As they made their way back to the main ballroom, Ethan felt a surge of confidence. Heads turned as they entered, and he noticed admiring glances being cast in his direction. He felt beautiful, powerful, and incredibly alive. Isabelle linked her arm through his, her eyes sparkling with merriment. "Now," she said, her voice laced with excitement, "it's time to dance." The vibrant rhythm of a jazz tune filled the room, and Ethan felt himself being swept away by the music. Isabelle guided him onto the dance floor, their movements graceful and fluid. Ethan surrendered to the rhythm, his initial nervousness melting away with each step. The other partygoers joined them, their dresses swirling and shimmering in the soft light. The room was alive with laughter and conversation, the clinking of glasses and the dulcet tones of the jazz band. Ethan felt as though he had stepped into a glamorous film, the scenes of which he had only ever witnessed on screen. As the song came to an end, Ethan and Isabelle paused, breathless and exhilarated. Laughter bubbled up between them, a delightful release of pent-up energy. "You are wonderful," Isabelle said, her eyes shining with appreciation. Ethan felt a warm glow spread through him at her compliment. "As were you. I've never danced like that before." Isabelle took his hand, her expression suddenly serious. "There's something about these parties, these moments, that brings out a side of us that is usually hidden. It's liberating, isn't it?" Ethan nodded, understanding exactly what she meant. "It truly is. I feel like I can be anyone or anything tonight. The freedom is exhilarating." Isabelle's eyes searched his, as if seeking confirmation of a shared understanding. "I knew you would get it. Not everyone does." Ethan wanted this night to last forever, this whirlwind of music, color, and uninhibited joy. Isabelle, her cheeks flushed and eyes sparkling, seemed to sense his thoughts. "I know just what you need," she said, leading him towards a set of ornate doors that opened onto a terrace. The cool night air was a refreshing contrast to the warmth of the ballroom. Ethan took a deep breath, savoring the subtle scents of jasmine and gardenia that wafted from the meticulously manicured gardens below. The terrace was softly lit, the glow of lanterns casting an enchanting ambience. Isabelle led him to the balustrade where they stood side by side, gazing out over the city. The Parisian skyline stretched before them, a glittering tapestry of lights and shadows. In the distance, the Eiffel Tower stood tall and proud, its illuminated form a beacon in the night. "It's beautiful," Ethan whispered, his voice filled with awe. Isabelle nodded, her eyes fixed on the horizon. "Paris has a magic about it, especially at night. It's as if the city comes alive, revealing secrets and possibilities that remain hidden during the day." Ethan turned to her, his curiosity piqued. "What kind of secrets?" Isabelle's lips curved into a mysterious smile. "The kind that can change your life, if you're open to them." She reached into her purse, pulling out a sleek silver case. With a flick of her wrist, she opened it, revealing a row of elegantly rolled cigarettes. She offered one to Ethan, her eyebrow raised in a silent question. Ethan hesitated for a moment, then accepted the offering. There was something about the night, about the energy that pulsed between them, that made him feel daring, ready to embrace new experiences. Isabelle lit the cigarettes, the flame of the lighter casting a warm glow over their faces. They inhaled deeply, the rich, smooth smoke filling their lungs. Ethan felt a pleasant buzz, a lightness that seemed to lift him out of himself. They smoked in companionable silence, the distant sounds of the city, the honking of horns, the laughter of passers-by, a subtle soundtrack to their shared moment. Ethan found himself studying Isabelle's profile, admiring the way the soft light accentuated her delicate features. "What are you thinking about?" Isabelle asked, catching his gaze. Ethan felt a flush rise to his cheeks, suddenly self-conscious. "I was just admiring the view." Isabelle's eyes sparkled with amusement. "The view of Paris, or the view of me?" Ethan's blush deepened, but he met her gaze with a newfound boldness. "Both, if I'm being honest." Isabelle laughed, a delightful sound that seemed to dance on the night air. "I appreciate your honesty. It's a rare quality, especially in a city like this." She took a final drag of her cigarette, then stubbed it out in a nearby ashtray. Ethan followed suit, feeling a strange sense of regret as the moment passed. "We should head back inside," Isabelle said, her voice tinged with reluctance. "I'm sure our absence has been noted." Ethan nodded, understanding the unspoken implications. In a world of social expectations and carefully crafted personas, every action was subject to scrutiny. As they made their way back to the ballroom, Ethan felt a sudden rush of gratitude for Isabelle's presence, for her willingness to guide him through this unfamiliar terrain. She was a beacon of light in a world that often felt shrouded in shadows. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.